Thank you, Cindy. Hello, everybody. My name is Zach Lillo. I am a sibling of an individual with autism, and that's how I'm part of the disability community. I also work for an organization called Living Our Visions Inclusively that works on community integration. So yes, nice to meet y'all.
Hi, I'm Rowan Strange. I'm also working with Living Our Visions Inclusively. I got into the disability community by going to graduate school for social work and was lucky to be in a disabilities field unit and just love the work.
I'm Desi Kluth, and I work with Zach through Love Inc.
I'll be the computer guy. Today we're going to be talking about getting into integrated community spaces is our main focus, and forming the natural connections that then becomes a part of those, so that there can be a focus on folks with disabilities not just having paid support, but having pure natural connections in the community. So we're going to have a couple of questions for y'all to begin with, and then we want to talk about some person-centered planning, the strengths and weaknesses in decision-making, and why that's important. We're going to talk about community integration. We have an activity for y'all, and then we'll end with a question and answer sessions for everybody. So let's get going. So we're going to start with some questions for everybody. We're going to first throw it to Desi, and she can kind of give an idea of what we're looking for. And if anyone then is feeling good about sharing some as well, they're more than welcome to. So the first one is, Desi, what do you like to do in the community?
I like to volunteer at the Humane Society and do things with the fire and police department.
Thank you, Desi. Does anyone want to share what they like to do in the community or like to do for fun in general? I got over here. Can you say it? Sorry, I forgot about the mic. No, you're good. That one's on me.
I like to do with my family is go to can you do it? Please.
You do Special Olympics.
I do some Special Olympics for swimming and cornhole and bocce and softball.
So just a triathlon athlete over here.
I like to travel with my parents. Sometimes I like to do some community with my mom's friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Cindy, I saw your hand back here.
My thing I like to do when I am not working as a director, you can find me at the Barnes and Noble bookstore right at Bayshore. Love it.
Thank you, Cindy. I'll keep an eye out for you. I saw one more hand back here. What do you like to do in the community, or what fun things do you like to do?
To friends. Yes, sir.
So what is what do you do for ASL?
Yes, sir.
What do you play?
Play. Dragon.
What do you play?
Play. Soccer.
Nice. Thank you so much for sharing. A lot of athletes going on. Anybody else want to share quickly? Right here, man. You got you. Nancy, you got one too? She likes to go to the library. There you go. It's a perfect. I love the library. What do we got here? What's your name, man?
My name's Hunter.
Nice to meet you, Hunter.
I I like to support my local baseball team during the summer.
What baseball team is that?
The Wausau Woodchucks.
Oh, nice. I have family up in Wausau. There you go. Nice, man. Thank you so much, Hunter. Oh, we got another one.
I also like going to the Milwaukee Zoo with my friends.
Very cool. I've not been there yet. I need to swing by. Anybody else? All right, thank you. If you ever feel comfortable, please share, but you do not have to. All right, the next question we have is, how long have you been doing these activities? Desi, how long have you been doing all these different activities?
For years.
For years. Is that pretty common for everybody, these long-standing activities? Yeah, things you've been doing for a long time. Do you participate with in these activities with staff or caregivers, or is this an independent thing you do, Desi?
Both.
Okay. Everybody else, is it kind of a mixed bag of like some of the stuff you do independently, some of the stuff you do with caregivers as well? Okay. All right. And then Desi, was it easy or difficult for you to find this connection and become a part of it? We'll speak specifically about some volunteer opportunities.
It was easy. Just a Google search.
Okay. Okay. Did everybody else, was your connection something that you formed on yourself? Were you kind of guided by it through family and caregivers, or how did you find Hannah, right? How did you find your interest in all the different sports that you like to be a part of?
Swimming. All from school. I like YMCA.
Okay, so this local community. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Hunter, you obviously, you live in Wausau, I'm assuming?
Yeah, but my brother and I have lived up there for over 2 decades now.
Okay, so you just wanted to become more intertwined with the local community, right? I love it. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. So we're going to move on to a big part of the success we have with natural connections and community integration is we like to base it off of person-centered planning. Person-centered planning is this idea where you can have like a way of trying to get someone integrated as much as you want. You can have this awesome plan, but at the end of the day, every single person is different. Everyone has different needs. They have different strengths. They have different weaknesses. And if you don't look at a whole picture of an individual and you just kind of focus on someone's weaknesses and you're like, oh, maybe they struggle with mobility, and like, well, if they do that, then we can't get them involved there. Instead of looking at them as a person, finding ways that we can get them into a space, even if they have trouble in a certain area. But it's also then not undervaluing the weaknesses either, being like, well, there are limitations and we have to find a way that we can find accommodating spaces where they can have the most success and still be a part of this group as much as possible. So like Desi has some really good examples of some times where she's been focused on person-centered planning.
I attend Donna Alexa, and I have some episodes where I'm really anxious, and they have helped. I have set up a meeting with them, and they have been really acceptive to my needs.
Desi, could you what could you explain maybe to the people what Don Alexa is? Like what do you do at Don Alexa?
Make art.
So it's an art space.
It's an art studio where you go, you can make whatever you want.
Yeah. And because you go in there and you do splatter painting, right?
Yeah.
So finding a space that like doesn't then kind of shoehorn you into like a specific style.
Yeah.
They let you go into their space and they crafted an environment that like is a Desi space.
And
No.
they have like donated materials so you can go through and look.
That's I sh-
Kinda, you can do whatever you want. I do mostly spatter painting.
it's a cool, it's a cool space. We have a question from Patrick. What's up, Patrick?
How you plan how you focus how you use this in the line of work.
How do we use this in the line of work?
Yeah, in yours.
In our line of work. So we use person-centered planning in the sense that when we're trying to get to know somebody, we understand that like I said before, every individual is different. And that includes the people that they want to be around, the activities that they want to be involved with, the type of space. You're the big talker. You hold on to that mic. The people that they want to be around, their personal social strengths, which everyone has those, and activity strengths, the weaknesses that do need to be looked at and that could form barriers, and how do we work ourselves around them to find accommodating, welcoming spaces that are willing to do what they can to help our members, our people in general, feel as welcomed as possible in those spaces. It's essentially looking at someone, every bit of them, and understanding that there's not just one bit that defines them. Just because someone has a disability doesn't mean that they're defined by that disability. It's just a piece in the whole puzzle, and it's trying to figure out how do we take that person and find integrated spaces that are going to look at them and want them there because of who they are as an individual. Knowing that, you can have a plan that works for one person, it's not going to work for another person, and understand you have to adjust and think differently for each individual. Rowan, go ahead.
Hello. Also, one part of person-centered planning that I learned about from this organization called Open Future Learning. They have a lot of great resources. One of the ways they describe it is discovering what is important to and for the person at the center of the effort and what they want their future to be. So really focusing, as you said, like on the person, not what the other people want for them. And I also wanted to describe the image on the screen. So it is an image in the middle is a circle that says focus person, and around it are 8 sections that are represented by people in their life and what aspect of their life they kind of help out with or support them in, including interests, skills, abilities, supports, family, future goals, lifestyle, and career. So those are just some aspects of a person's life that they may want goals for. And it's important that, whoever's helping out with them, that focused person stays in the center.
Thank you, Rowan. Is there any other questions anyone has for person-centered planning in this regard? Okay. Thank you, everybody. This is another idea of person-centered planning. We have supports independence, honors choice, enhances dignity, empowers self, improves quality of life, and what does the top one say? Promotes positive well-being. Is that what it is? Yes, promotes positive well-being. So yeah, it's a mindset that every individual has the right to choose what they want to do. We'll get to it later, but the empower self is really important as long as enhances dignity. It's saying that somebody, is able to make the choices that they want to make, even if other people around them might not agree with them. At the end of the day, it is their choice to make them. Anything you want to add, Rowan? Yeah.
Does anyone in the audience want to share how they use person-centered planning or how they want to use it?
In my experience, is also called Marble centered plan. Is similar to this. That type of thing. You talk about the other term from Marble centered plan is person centered planning. Is is similar.
Exactly.
Mampu-centered plan.
Thank you, Patrick. Yes.
Oh, the question is, how do you use person-centered planning, or how would you like to use it if you haven't already? Is there anyone else who would like to answer?
Cindy.
What is Mampu-centered plan?
What is member-centered
Plan.
planning? Same as.
Same as person-centered planning. Yes.
Sometimes called different.
Yes, exactly. Cindy, I saw your hand be raised.
When I first moved in my apartment, we had we called it a circle of friends. We just had moved to the neighborhood and we're getting some friends together from my church, Mary Claire and Mary Beth, and I think it was 5 of them. We met in the living room to figure out how I was going to live in my apartment and who was going to help me for a while to get used to living in an apartment. So coming from a group home straight to an apartment was a little complicated. And so then one thing we figured out, so I wouldn't be lonely, I got a cat and had one ever since, and it's just been better than just having roommates.
Oh, 100% agree, Cindy.
So, I mean, in a nice way, but the cat is just fine, so.
The cat's the
but it
quiet
made-
roommate.
Well, what happened was it made me less afraid, less lonely, and they're just sweet little creatures.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Cindy. Yeah, no, and I think Cindy brings up a really good point that person-centered planning, we're speaking on in a community integration setting, but this is something that can apply in all aspects of an individual life, be it vocational, be it living, be it schooling. We as a group of people just believe that the individual is what needs to be focused on. You can't box anybody in. Everyone comes in with different adversities, different skills that they need to be focused on. I saw a hand back here.
I'm just monitoring the chat. And Anna shared that we use person-centered planning in the Community Connections program I'm part of at Opportunity Development Center. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Anna. Yeah, woo woo. I like that.
I work with it.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Up here, Rowan.
Good afternoon. I think what's great about person-centered planning is whether or not it's a formal plan. I think all of us, whether we have a long-term care plan or not, we use person-centered planning. Like I talk to a friend and I seek advice, or if I want a job, I'm going to ask somebody else who might have the job that I'm interested in. And I don't necessarily have to have a long-term care plan to have that person-centered plan, which is here's what I want in my life. Here's what makes me happy. How can others help me with that? So I like that we're talking about this from a plan side, but also what do we do whether or not we're on a long-term care plan? I think we all have that sense of community. And when you look at all those assets that you just named, Rowan, I think it's really important that we find people to talk to about that as well.
100% agree. Got another chat.
Michelle shared in chat, sorry for my delay. I like to spend time in my community that involves providing resources to those in need. It was not an easy at first until I established connections to many individuals and families and getting to know them and what their needs are. Now I know what to bring with me when I go on my walks and distribute many items to many who need them. Thank you. Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah, that's awesome, Michelle. Anybody else have any questions or comments about person-centered planning? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. So we are moving on to the strengths and weaknesses in decision making. There can be discrepancies, like I mentioned before, about either someone's weaknesses are way overvalued or their strengths are the only thing they're focused on. Like we can't look at somebody's weaknesses because we don't want them to think negatively. There needs to be, as we believe, a balance between the two. It's understanding what someone's strengths are and how they can be out there and displayed to the world, and like what they need to, like, they can use those skills to form these connections in the community, the activities, the people that they can benefit, but also understanding though that the weaknesses do play a role. Those can be the things that can form a barrier or completely derail a connection because of just people in the community not understanding about disability. And having an understanding about both can give the best chance of someone succeeding long-term in these community spaces. I believe Desi has something that she wants to share related to these. Desi, the firehouse is a chance of a success story about understanding your weaknesses, but using it to become a successful situation.
So I attend Waukesha Local Government Academy. It's to learn about your local government. And they were really accepting about my needs and there was an activity that would be too much, so we just left for that activity and didn't participate, but we participated like the whole time except for that activity.
Yeah, they were welcoming and accommodating, knowing that some of the sensory stuff might have been too much for you, but like giving us very clear ideas of like when we could leave and still being able to allow you to participate in the majority of the group. And just hearing like beforehand, I guess a little background is before we started this overall Waukesha Local Government Academy, we met with the organizer and kind of gave some ideas about accommodations that Desi might need to succeed. And some spaces can be difficult to get them to understand, but the vast majority of spaces out there are very accepting nowadays and are willing to make the accommodations. Like Desi, are you okay with me maybe sharing some of the accommodations that we've gotten within the academy? Or if you would like to, yeah, go ahead.
They opened a conference, or there was a conference room that was open in case I was overstimulated, or they set a space like at the back table so I had an easy exit if I needed to.
Yeah, no, I think that's perfect. Thank you, Desi. Yeah, we have a question back here, Rowan. Comment more, perfect. That works as well.
Hi, so my name is Stephanie. I work at Opportunity Development Center as well with Anna, the previous comment. We do a lot of this. We're a day service I'm up in Stevens Point. We have several locations in the northern area, and we try to practice this with our clients on a daily basis. We have several outings or in-house projects that they do every day in the morning and then different ones in the afternoon. And then we do also offer sensory rooms for, mornings too. And Till, we do Till with Nicole and Marissa and Jeannie.
Which stands for Transitioning Independent Lifestyles.
Okay.
Yep, and it's a group that meets through the Y via Zoom, and sometimes we go and we meet out in the public. But we have a sensory room for people that do get overstimulated, and it gets utilized, and it's a wonderful thing. I don't think we could do it without it. We brought 17 members to the conference this year, which was just amazing. And we have seen so many of them come out of their shell.
Yeah.
It's just fabulous. And I can't wait to see how they take what they've learned and experienced here out into the real world. And
Mhm.
it's wonderful. And I just wish everybody would be as accommodating.
Yeah, I mean it's awesome. I mean over my lifetime, I'm like seeing my brother grow up and just the growth he has, but especially within my career, like giving folks with disabilities a chance to like building a space in the community that's welcoming and accommodating, but also an integrated space. It's amazing what happens when you give someone the opportunity to grow, because you see I've seen the gamut of people like go into a space that they were like, I'm so scared to be here and so terrified, and just finding welcoming spaces where people understand like, hey, maybe we need to meet at a quieter space. I had somebody I worked with recently where it was a book club that met in a public space, and I brought up sensory issues from auditory, and they're like, well, we always can move to a different place, and they were more than welcome to move, because if you don't ask and you don't try and build accommodations within the community, it's never going to happen. But we're getting into a more welcoming, accommodating world, and us as a community, I think, it's a big push needs to be a big push to like build the accommodations, but also then build on the skills to help ourselves become more integrated. I have a question or comment over here.
In addition to what Stephanie said, also one of our directors at the YMCA, our adaptive recreation director, Christy Bridenhagen, she's also come up with different activities like evening game nights, book club, Pink, like with Judy and me, Jeannie. I think Hannah was part of Pink, wasn't it? Yep, Hannah. And Pink, which stands for Partners in Nurturing Community, where we go out in the community and do different things like different charity water stops to whatever to help out in the community at all times.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Any other comments based on strengths or weaknesses debate? Patrick. Patty, sorry.
When you talk about much of what you use, recommendation, are you thinking ADA or something different?
ADA definitely plays I mean, you obviously need to have the ADA protocols. Like, are you talking about like handicap accessible spaces and the like? Is that what you're talking about, Patty?
Yes.
Yes. So that plays obviously a huge role into it. And but when we're talking, we're thinking smaller scale. If a place isn't handicap accessible, the chances that I'm going to be able to be like, hey, you got to break your building down and rebuild a new one that's handicap accessible, it takes a long time. And it's possible, but that takes a lot more push. Our stuff, when it comes to community integration, is things that like, reforming where a group is met, or like Desi said, having a space where somebody is able to leave and just kind of be by themselves for a second. It's something that a lot of people who don't have sensory stimulation issues don't deal with and don't even think about. But a lot of people in the disability community, it plays a big part. So finding ways that spaces can become accommodating in a day-to-day sense alongside a year-long sense they go hand in hand, Patty. So that was a good question.
Thank you. Actually, my name is Patrick.
You would prefer Patrick. For some reason I heard Patty. Sorry about that, Patrick. Any other comments or questions regarding the strengths and weaknesses? Or Rowan, do you have anything you want to add?
I was going to say another accommodation many people may not think of, especially if they don't experience the sensory overload. One of them could be like requesting in groups, no one wearing like super strong perfumes or wearing like neutral scents, because some people are very sensitive to those. Yes, and being able to lower the lights, because I've seen a lot of places now have the dimmer switch, which is super nice. Right. Yeah, because sometimes the light, especially those like fluorescents, like the buzzing lights too, those are just too much. So even those little things that people may not think of, being able to ask and say, hey, is there an alternative we can use for this?
Desi has something else to add.
That Alexa, they have like sections where we sit, so they let me turn off my section of lights.
Yeah, it's a great feature. Yeah. We got Hunter and then Cindy.
As part of the accommodations too, you may want to look into your care programs as well, because I know that my healthcare program helps with even payments for my life support and stuff like that I need, and a lot of other things that are covered with my care budget, so it's really nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hunter.
So I'm sure a lot of people in this room are on Zoom a lot. And I find when I'm on Zoom for my work, sometimes I get very antsy. And then another thing, you just get overwhelmed with it. If there's a lot of people on your Zoom call that are not using plain language, I've learned to just turn off the camera and because it just gets overwhelming because there's just too much information that you're getting. And a person with a disability or a person without a disability, that gets, and you have to be able to get up. So if I turn off the camera, I can get up and stretch my legs a little bit and then come back on. And then everybody's computer is different. And sometimes even the light on the computer is not good because I get migraines. So I say another reason I turn it off, but some people say, well, we want to see your face and can you keep it on? So then what I say to them is I have to sometime turn it off. And it's in the mornings especially because my eyes are still waking up too. And when you're on a 7:30 call, your eyes are not quite open yet. So
No.
in a nice way, but that's a combination. And it can be hard to explain this to people. You know what I mean? So thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Anything else? Thank everybody. Then we get, okay, Rowan is instructing me to let them do this, and I respect that.
This is one of my favorite topics. So, who's heard the phrase dignity of risk or dignity of failure before?
Got a few people, yeah.
Cool. So, I like this little picture which shows 3 different paths in nature. The one on the right is labeled easy. It's just a straight path, no bumps, no cracks, no trees in the road. You can see straight through all the way. In the middle, it's labeled medium, where you see some stones and cracks in the road, and it may be a little more difficult to get through. And then on the left is the hard path, and there's a big crack right at the beginning. There are stones and like boulders all in the way, and it looks almost impossible to get through. So that's kind of something to imagine when we think of dignity of risk or dignity of failure. And this little phrase is saying, you know, people deserve to make their own decisions in life, even if they could have negative consequences. That's where that dignity of being able to take a risk or fail comes in, because most people without disabilities are just given that right out. There's no like debate about whether they can go do something if there's a possibility for a negative consequence. And the like official definition I found is dignity of risk is the idea that self-determination and the right to take reasonable risks are essential for dignity and self-esteem, and so should not be impeded by excessively cautious caregivers concerned about their duty of care. Of course, for people with disabilities, our loved ones, our clients, et cetera, we want them to be safe. We also understand that, they're human beings who deserve to make their own choices, especially if they have all the information, they know what could happen. And if they still want to do it anyway, as is their right. Does you want to talk about a time where you maybe took a risk?
This could also be related to the local government academies, Desi.
Yeah. Going in going into community spaces, knowing that I could have an episode and yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. Thank you, Desi.
So doing it anyway and kind of taking that chance. And, if an episode does happen, it's like, well, it's not that I'm never going to go there again. It's just, what to do in the future.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to share an experience or a comment? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, you're fine.
When does it become too much of a risk to deem it reasonable?
Can I answer that one, Rowan? So speaking as someone who has been in this field for a while, as someone who has a sibling with a disability, I personally believe the risk level is related to safety level. Like if a lot of the stuff we're talking about, someone's not likely going to get physically harmed in any way. But taking a chance at a group maybe not working or a space not working because you're worried about your skill level at that skill. There's a lot of times that we'll go into spaces with our members, and it might be the first time they want to try an activity, but we don't know if they're capable of that activity at the time. But at the same time, they are choosing to do that. If one day I'm sitting around and I'm like, I want to go try surfing, no one's going to tell me I can't go try surfing. I can just go. Now, that's not the same with folks with disabilities. There's a lot of people that if they want to try something that's outside of their comfort zone, there might be people saying well, maybe maybe that's not the right idea. And personally, we as an organization and a lot of folk that we work with think that that's the person's right to make that chance. Maybe it doesn't work, but can I ask people who don't have a disability here, how many times have you done something and it didn't work out and it was a mistake at the end of the day, but it was your right to make that mistake? And you know what? I personally believe, as someone who's made a lot of mistakes in my life, that sometimes you learn way more from those mistakes than you ever do from something that you're going to be good at, because you can grow from those mistakes. Maybe you try an activity. I'll give an example. I had an individual who wanted to try improv. They did theater back in high school, but it had been a while, and we went to a local open improv night, and it did not work. It tanked. They were way out of their element. They felt nervous, and they just didn't feel comfortable. And they realized that, hey, you know what? This was too big of a step for me. But then they reassessed, and we tried a safer option because they chose to. And that individual is now writing a play because they feel comfortable. So it's just I'm a big proponent. You have to let folks with disabilities take those chances, even if it does. Now, safety is a big thing. If someone's going to go into it and they could get seriously hurt, that is somewhere where I'll step in and be like, okay, we need to think about options here. But if it's going to trying a new instrument that maybe they've never done before, you wouldn't think twice if they didn't have a disability. But there's so many times when I've heard parents or caregivers be like, well, they can't do that. I'm like, why can't they? If it doesn't work out, let them take that shot. But no, if it's going skydiving, not to throw you under the bus there, Desi, but it's the taking the chances and allowing them to take the risks. I saw Cindy, I think I saw your hand and then I saw your hand.
So I had to take a rest this summer. I never flew on a plane by myself. I've always flew with somebody. And so my operation manager was going to be on vacation, but I had to fly to Oklahoma to do a speech. Well, what I did is we figured out how this was going to happen, is that we got some stuff together, how I was going to go from Milwaukee to Chicago, Chicago to Oklahoma. We found out that not from, somebody who stayed with me at the Metro airline, and somebody met me in Chicago, and you had to, take a wheelchair, but somebody was there, right there with the wheelchair, got me some lunch, got me to my gate, and somebody met me on the other end in Oklahoma, and I flew all the way by myself, and I flew all the way back in the next 2 days, and the same thing, but we had to have a plan or it wasn't going to happen for me, because I'm actually I'm not afraid of coming down. I'm always afraid of going off that runway. And but there was a nice person sitting right by me, and of course, I don't know why I always get stuck when I'm on a plane with gentlemen, but in a nice way. But I mean, seriously, every time I've been on a plane, well, I mean, in the middle, it's always me and two other nice gentlemen. I don't know why, but anyway, I'm just saying, he said, you look scared. And so he offered me a magazine, and he said, I'm there for you. And we didn't even know each other, so it was nice. I'm not talking bad about gentlemen. I was happy he was there. And on the way home, I had two gentlemen who were not very nice. So there you go.
Dichotomy. Thank you so much.
I think people with disabilities have to take the risk of taking a plane, because somebody may not be there with us all the time. And we got to do it. We need to show people we can do it. I was scared, shaky. I made it both times, and I was happy.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Cindy, I think that's an excellent example, because like transportation needs of like, especially in certain parts of the state, I mean, there aren't like, a paratransit or anything. Like I live in Milwaukee, and dealing with a lot of transportation. It's I can't say anything, but yeah. Thank you, Cindy. But like getting people the chance to ride the bus. I think, Cindy, you taking the chance of riding the plane and knowing that you needed some accommodations, but at the end of the day, you were taking that risk. It's exactly what we're talking about. It's just giving the person the chance. And if it doesn't work and there still needs to be some support space around it, that is okay. And it's just finding the way of how we can help in our own way, but letting that individual make those choices.
So my name's Amber, and this is a personal story with my cousin. So my cousin is a young adult who is deafblind, and really, really, really wanted to go scuba diving on our next trip. Really wanted to go scuba diving, right? So their dad is interested in scuba diving. Everyone's interested, has watched all the movies. So instead of going, no, you can't go scuba diving, the two of us took scuba diving classes and certification together. Nice. So we spent the summer going scuba diving together. And as someone who also knows sign language, we could give the communication. So, here we are in all of our scuba gear and all of our glasses, right? And here's the instructions. And then what we decided to do is, because of their blindness, I would stay on one side, but allow them to swim independently, and then be able to guide where there was fish or where there was a turtle, knowing where their vision was. Or if there was an emergency or someone had said something, I could communicate. So one, thinking about a person-centered plan and community connections, it could have been, a huge risk where someone would say, no, as someone who's deafblind, please don't go scuba diving. But we moved it from the dangerous side on the left road into the medium side. I'm not going to say it was easy. Scuba diving is not easy. Yeah. But we were able to navigate that, and it was so fun to be able to do it together. That's awesome. Not only did they get to experience scuba diving, but we're both certified scuba divers now, and looking for the opportunity to be able to do it again. So dignity of risk, but also creating that person-centered plan and that connection of something we could be doing together.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Desi wants me to go skydiving with her someday. I need to file a lot of liability claims. All right, there you go. Now scuba diving's had as well.
I got my certification.
All right, thank you. See, I mean, this is one of the trickier subjects when it comes up to talking about like community integration. Is that like, you know, there is the protection of like, you know, especially as a parent. I mean, worried about, you know, your child and like what they're capable of, or like not wanting them to feel like they're put into a space where like they may feel othered, but like instead taking the step back and being like, give them a chance, because you'll see some amazing things if you give folks a chance. I see we have another comment.
Well, Anna on chat just said the dignity of risk. So true. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. But then what you were just saying, so I'm a parent of this is me talking, Nancy, not the chat. I'm the parent of a 16-year-old son. He's on the autism spectrum. And he had mumbled something about, I kind of like a mohawk. And I thought to myself, oh, okay. But I don't know, you get busy. And I thought, well, maybe I would take him to get a haircut, right? So I'm on a Zoom call for work. He's homesick. And he comes in and he's given himself a mohawk.
There you go.
He looked it up on like YouTube and figured it out and used mirrors somehow, and he did a pretty decent job. I'm not gonna lie.
That's
It turns
awesome.
out he's actually got a nicely shaped head, which is good. But I was so nervous because it's like on some level, like socially, because homecoming was coming up and he really wanted to go and he was going to go with the group that fell apart when somebody got a date. Then all of a sudden, you know, he's going to go by himself. And I thought, oh my God, going by yourself to homecoming, and now you've got this mohawk and everything like that. But and then I was like, you got to let this go. Like I've got to let it go. He's got to just go try this, right? And so he went and he had a really good time, and like he was dancing and people liked his hair, and he got good feedback, and it all worked out.
That's awesome. That might also just be a teenage thing. I remember my parents yelling at me not to get any piercings. And for some reason, I actually listened to them, and I really, really don't regret that I didn't get piercings. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. This is, yeah. Anything else about dignity of risk? Thank you. Desi, any final comments? Okay. Finally, we're getting into community integration, where, it's the bread and butter. Yeah, it's putting everything about what a person is interested in, what they want out of community, and trying to find a space in community that's welcoming, accommodating, doesn't treat them as someone with a disability. Like I say before, they're not being seen as just another person in the group who's just the token for individual with a disability, but they're integrated into the community. And this can be incredibly difficult depending on what the activity is, the spaces, but they're out there. And you can't really do it unless you understand and know the person and what their strengths are, because once you figure out what their strengths are and what makes them special and awesome to the world, you can find and figure it out very, very easily. Rowan?
Yeah, pretty much all of that. The community integration is kind of where a lot of this person-centered planning, like that's the goal, is to have them integrated and doing the stuff they want to do, and that's fulfilling. And it does involve a lot of that planning. Not only like finding a space that is suitable, but dealing with like the more logistical stuff like transportation, scheduling, stuff like that. And then another part of a community integration that we really like to work towards in our organization is finding natural supports. So that's a term we use a lot, and that's basically someone who is already a part of the group or setting or space or whatever, who can be kind of like, not a lifeline, but someone who becomes familiar for our individual that we're working with, someone who makes the space seem a little less daunting or scary. So this could be like, a librarian at the book club you go to, or, someone in the book club. It can be a volunteer. At some of our bigger events, we have volunteers, and a lot of our members will definitely find comfort in having them around. Sports coach.
Exactly.
A young woman I work with, her natural support at the athletic club is the lifeguard, or like the lifeguards, the team. They all know her super well, And so she's able to like be dropped off and go and participate without like caregiver or staff because she has those connections with the lifeguards.
Or a school counselor too.
Yes, definitely at school. Hopefully someone has a natural support there.
This is a comment.
Mhm.
We contain natural supports to be your friends, family, community connections to any groups and organizations you are part of.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the community. Yeah, the natural supports are once you are comfortable and have made those connections within those they're the people that at a book club. It might be just that person you really click with at that book
I'll
club.
talk about friends and family.
Exactly. They're friends. At the end of the day, that's what we're looking at with community integration and natural connections is they are friends and they are a part of your social circle that, you know, is outside of paid support. It's just, it's your friend. It's what you're doing. They know how to assist you. Like Desi was talking about with Ann at local government academy, someone who is willing to do the extra mile to help you feel safe and accommodated. We got a comment in the back.
Michelle had just noted that in regards to the dignity of risk, she said, if I hadn't taken risks, I would not be where I am today, participating on state committees and standing up for both myself and many others without a voice.
Exactly. Thank you, Michelle. Anybody have anything else about communication, questions or anything? No risk, no gain. I like that.
Nice.
Thank you. Do you have some, Desi? Do you have anything to say, Desi? Okay, good. And then, yeah, finding community connections. So quick little rundown. So just kind of a path that we usually choose is, you know, with the person, you make a list of their interests and things they like to do and the activities and hobbies, why they like that. Find out who else likes to do these things and where they like to do them. So, you know, finding that out in the community. Like I have a member who is very into role-playing gaming, like Dungeons and Dragons, if anybody's familiar with that. And you know, knowing where in the community you can find those. A lot of board game shops will have those open to the community. It's just a quick one. Talk about how the person can make a contribution to the community. Like this, you know, is kind of it's understanding, you know, what that person brings to that group. That they're just another individual within this group, and they can, you know, their personality shines through anything. And then if the person needs supports with these connections, who should go with them? That could be, you know, like Patrick said, that could be a friend, that could be a family member, that could just be someone naturally within the group who could be their support person, depending on the level of support needs that they have. Think about who shares the same interests, who the person is most comfortable with. You know, it's a whole, you know, weighted to make sure that you're putting the success of the person first and foremost. And then finally, show up to the space and be present. It literally is just try it. Just go out there, take that chance. You know, if that group isn't the right group, there's more than one Dungeons and Dragons group out there. And there's more than one book club out there. There's more than one local government academy out there. I don't think so, but that one works out. Yeah, there's more than one art, whatever it is. There are spaces out there. You just have to take that chance at finding the right one. And it won't work unless you just, you know, go. And then we're going to end up today. We have our connection tree. We think it's all on the table in front of y'all. The first level, we have the tree trunk, which is the focus point, which is our person. Our person is the center of the effort, and keeping them as the focus will help recognize current connections and brainstorm where more can be made. We then extend to the limbs, which are daily activities and locations. How does our person spend their time? Where do they go? Think daily activities, hobbies, school, work, just, you know, what their daily work life looks like. Then we come to the branches, which are interests. Pursuing the person's interests allows for the connections to start. This is a great time to check out features of the space, what activities are actually happening, what resources are available, what type of people are there, et cetera, et cetera. And we then get to level 4, which is the newer branches. These are the connections made. These are the leaves. These are the natural supports. Think about ways to maintain these connections, like communication, communication, commitment, and follow-up, making sure that someone's be able to build it into their schedule and they're able to naturally get to these spaces, transportation-wise. And then the leaves are those personal connections that grow into natural supports, other people in that space that embrace and support that person so that they are able to continue to go to these events and grow and prosper. So that is the overall tree. And then we have a good activity sheet right in front of you if you want to fill that out when you have an opportunity. But as for us though, that is everything. So Rowan or Desi, do you guys have any final words?
If anyone else has any other questions or comments they'd like to make, please, throw them at us.
Yeah.
Also, otherwise, yeah, we're like, the presentation's done a little early, but I really encourage people to fill out that tree, especially if you're looking for something new to try. This way you can use it to build up from, the trunk and build up to find those new leaves. I know we're heading into autumn and winter, but we can still grow new leaves.
Perfect. Well said, Rowan. Thank you so much.
Yeah, y'all have been a great audience. Thank you, Cleveland.
This is our first presentation. So this is thank you for being so kind and welcoming and listening to us. Thank you very much, Desi, as well.
Go Desi.
Patrick, do you have something you want to say? Okay, man.
Oh, yeah. We also have materials for organization and business cards up here. And also there's a survey that is on your table. Thank you, because I didn't know what to say about it.
Operation manager.
Okay. This is the password for the CEU survey. I'm guessing that's something online. It's in the chat. And there's a QR code by the door. Thank you.